And don't forget, that's SMYTHRADIO.
Yes.
That is the handle.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, absolutely. And, yeah, so make sure you get the spelling right. What do you think about this? What do you think if Cruz supporters or constitutional conservatives feel that, well, we just need to follow the letter of the law of the Constitution as it's written, couldn't a very smart person, maybe a Mark Zuckerberg or, some of the programmers at Google, come up with a virtual president?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Where literally it's just AI, and you send a bill to it, it reads it, and it comes up with whether or not it should sign it or veto it based on the Constitution. We don't need a human being.
No, not anymore.
Copyright Smith Radio.
So this week, Glenn Beck has a rabbi. His name's, they call him Rabbi Lapin. They have him on the Glenn Beck radio show a lot. And Glenn Beck has mass amount of respect for this man. He's extremely intellectual. He's a very, very smart, well-respected rabbi. And Glenn has had long, extensive conversations with him about politics, about religion, because he's a Jewish rabbi and Glenn Beck is a Mormon. And so they go back and forth. They have these long discussions. And the big thing that they pride themselves on is the fact that they can have a civil discussion back and forth, whether they disagree with each other or not. But a lot of times, Glenn Beck and the crew of the show will agree with Rabbi Lapin.
And by the way, Daniel Lapin, Rabbi Daniel Lapin, his Twitter handle is @Daniel Lapin. It's Lapin.
Okay.
So just if you want to follow him. And did Glenn Beck ever blow it? He's been on this anti-Trump crusade. He's like anybody but Trump, no matter what.
Forever.
And he's had Daniel Lapin on before, Rabbi Lapin. And he wanted to have him on again.
Well, the first sound clip that I have is Glenn Beck just losing it. And Rabbi Lapin said, hey, we're not on a Carnival cruise. This isn't a Carnival cruise. We are on a cruise ship, and it's sinking. And there's 2 lifeboats. One that's Hillary Clinton with a lot of holes.
Yeah, holes in the lifeboat.
He didn't say Swiss cheese, but that's the picture he's trying to paint.
Right.
And then you've got Trump that's a regular boat and with no holes in it. And so there's no question in my mind. And so Glenn Beck's going back and forth about, what do you mean? What do you mean? How can you do this? And this is very interesting how Rabbi Lapin starts to paint the picture of Trump. And
I thought it was fascinating because the whole Glenn Beck crew was blindsided with what he ended up saying. Just absolutely blindsided. And I was shocked because I've known Glenn Beck and his crew to never dare have anybody but absolute Trump haters on at all times.
They did not know this was coming.
Oh, they did not.
Not know.
So let's hear it.
So here's the first 3 sound clips. I tried to make them as small as I can. This one's about...
Oh, it went on for a while, and we're sorry about that. But it is worth it.
Oh, he was on the show for like 15 solid minutes, and I've got 2 2-minute segments and then the reaction.
Oh, I love it.
Then the reaction of Glenn Beck. So here's the first one.
The person who, in the whole of America, there's one person who's truly shocked at how far Trump has got in this campaign, and I think that's Donald Trump himself.
Yeah, definitely.
He was having fun. Don't forget, Donald's the only guy who could end this tomorrow and still have a good life.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yes.
So I think the mistake we might be making, and I think it's an easy one to make, because we're accustomed to taking people at their word. We're accustomed to dealing with people who say what they think and think what they say and mean what they say. And as far, look, I don't know him personally. I have absolutely no idea. But I know Hillary pretty clearly. I mean, I know where she's going. I don't know where he's going. But I do know he's one of these kinds of people who talks before he thinks. That's what he does. And neither is he somebody who necessarily feels a compulsion to follow through precisely on everything that he specifically says.
Okay, now bear with it. he's coming to a point. And if you're a Trumpster, you will be very excited that at the end of this.
I was excited.
Just hang in there.
And it would seem to me that after all these years in business, the likability factor, if he really was like he sounds, I would have thought there'd be a whole lot of people popping out there who really dislike him, and it's not true. Hillary is the one who's widely and broadly disliked as a human being. But that isn't true for this guy. And so
Okay, so Glenn Beck is okay, but
he's starting to lose it.
Right, but really, look at the news. Look at all the people who really dislike Hillary.
Yeah, you don't see a movement of people so excited about Hillary.
And we'll get into this a little bit later on, that New York Times scandal of that fake hit piece against Trump with these women that he apparently assaulted. All three women came out and said, no, he's the greatest man in the world.
I remember exactly where I was when I was listening to this spot in the audio, and I remember thinking to myself, oh, Glenn is... Before Glenn said anything, he said, Glenn's definitely going to instantly disagree with that, right?
Right.
I don't know who you're hanging with.
I don't know who you're hanging with.
I see distinguished people. Conrad Black is somebody who I have a lot of respect for. Conrad Black writes and speaks about him as somebody who is a good friend, a likable person, and somebody who acts rationally and sanely. So, again, for me, it's the choice of the two lifeboats. I feel I have to make some choice because I certainly don't want this country going down the guaranteed path of bigger government.
So is there a line for you that he could cross that you would say that's too far?
I dare say there is, but I think the mistake is taking every word he says and parsing it for meaning and implication, because the fact that he said it, I don't think means the slightest thing tomorrow or the next day.
That was what they ended up using to bash him over his head with after he left.
Right, but you got to understand, and we'll get into some more of these sound clips, you've got to understand that he may say something today that he may change his mind on tomorrow. It's possible. It's real. Politicians don't do that because...
That's why they don't say anything.
Right. And listen to Obama speak. It's all gobbledygook.
Oh my gosh, this morning on Meet the Press...
Depressed?
Yeah, I actually tweeted out because I could not bear to exert the effort needed to pay attention to what Hillary's gobbledygook when she was being interviewed this morning. So I just said, screw this, and I tweeted out that somebody pull up a pillow or something. I need a good nap. If you need a good nap, turn on Hillary on Meet the Press right now. I even posted a picture of a guy completely zonked.
Right.
So, yeah, that's because she's a politician, and she's not going to say anything.
And if she does say something, it was polled. Her advisors tell her that this is what you need to say because this is what's going to work real well.
The strong stance you need to take.
The strong stance. And when a politician does that, whether it works or not, they've got to stay with it.
That's right.
Like that whole thing
backtracking is not good.
Right. Like that whole thing with Bill Clinton passing that bill back in the day that put all these black men in prison for such minuscule, insignificant brushes with the law. It was a heavy-handed law that he signed, a bill that he signed into law.
Yeah, that he recommended and everything.
Right, and all of a sudden now it's come out to where it's actually destroyed, or helped to continue to destroy the family, the core family values in the black community, which is what the Democrats absolutely have to do.
Well, they love it.
Is destroy family values, destroy the family core, the mommy, the daddy, the man, the woman, the children. The man goes out to slay the dragon. The mommy helps rear the children and is the super glue that holds the family together. She's the nuke. She is the nuke. She's the atom. And the dad and the kids are the electrons running around her. She holds that whole molecule, that whole thing. She holds it all together. And they don't want to give women credit like that. Look at what they did to Mitt Romney's wife, Ann Romney. Would you stayed at home and raised 7 kids? Yeah, like that's a job? Did you just drop the mic? What?
Yeah.
You ask any woman that's raising one child.
And let alone 7.
And all boys. They're all boys.
Yikes.
Yeah, folks. So I'm sorry about that little rant there, but I can't help myself sometimes. So that's the whole destroying of the nucleus, and that's what they want. Okay, so Glenn Beck and crew continued on what seemed to be, I don't know, like they were dumbfounded, and they thought they could keep talking to Rabbi Lapin and maybe persuade him. They're trying to.
I don't know what they were just absolutely they were blindsided. They did not anticipate needing to be in this conversation with this rabbi.
Right. So Glenn Beck,
they respect him too much to start bashing the heck out of him, but they were just beside themselves.
Right. And this next sound clip, just to kind of paraphrase and kind of set it up, Beck goes off and starts blasting Trump on his list that apparently he had a meeting with the GOP.
Oh, I couldn't wait to hear the next Glenn Beck show because I wanted to. It just blows away all the lies that Glenn Beck has been saying about Trump being a Democrat, being a liberal, being a progressive, and he comes out with this list that I honestly don't think would have been very much different if Cruz came out with a SCOTUS list.
Guess who he credits? Trump credits is helping him. One of the people helping him put that list together.
Is it Mike Lee?
Senator Jeff Sessions.
Oh, Sessions. Well, Mike Lee's brother, I think, who's
probably there was a handful of people involved.
Well, Mike Lee's brother is on the list.
Oh, yeah, there you
he's
go.
Like a Supreme Court justice from whatever state he's in.
Okay,
Utah, I think.
And I had the sound clip, but don't worry about that. I'll just let you know that Glenn Beck is absolutely lying. He's like misguiding you.
We don't like to call people liars. But I cannot tell you how many times I'm listening to him in the morning.
He's being
I'm like,
dishonest.
He's flat out lying there.
Right.
I've actually tweeted out. If you ever see me tweet out during Glenn Beck's show, and I include his handle in the tweet, and I use the word lie, that's because Glenn just dropped a whopper. Seriously, because I don't like to just throw those accusations out. It has to be a whopper. And I've accused not Jeffy, but Stu. Stu comes out with big whoppers.
Yeah.
I think he hates Trump more than Glenn does.
Wow.
Yeah, Stu does. He's bad. I think it was Stu that came up with the idea to stick their head in Cheetos.
The Cheetos. Do you know?
He's an idiot.
Right. Well, you know that if you ever want to pick up good news, or if you ever want to follow some really good articles that are trending, if you will, either go to Drudge or go to Breitbart.com. I love the two guys. A lot of trending information that you can just read and follow, whether it be from the New York Times, the Post, or stuff coming out of the UK. But this week on the article that they posted about Glenn Beck, they're using Glenn Beck's face with the Cheetos on it.
Oh, of course. That's got to be used every time from now on.
Yes, and whenever we talk about Glenn Beck, you must envision Cheeto Man with goggles on. He has Cheetos over his face.
I don't know if the picture that you showed from Breitbart they did not have goggles on, but there's another picture, and Stu has goggles on, and that's just burned in my mind from forever. Right. I've never seen what Stu looked like in my life until I saw the video of them sticking their head in Cheetos.
You know, that's something I never thought about.
I've never seen what he looked like in my life.
Like,
and then
people
I see that,
don't normally, people don't normally see radio show hosts,
right?
Except for Glenn Beck, because he was on TV.
On TV for a long time. Yeah.
Now he's got a show. You don't know what none of these guys look like, and then your first image, a viral video,
is him with the kitty goggles on. They're like neon green, and they look like a child would wear them. Oh, he's so vile. But anyway.
Okay, so you're listening to Smith Radio, smithradio.com. We're live every Sunday night, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. And You can follow us on Twitter at Smith Radio. That's SMYTH. Or if you want to get any of the breaking stories that we like to post on